now what we're gonna dive into is my ops manager currently. So situation is that my project manager and ops manager proposed a solution for how to manage this creative process within ClickUp.
Love it.
And I said, I love it. I think it needs to be more simple.
Okay.
Less automations. I think it just needs to be like
You're trying
dumb.
to like over process it.
Yeah, over process it.
Yep.
I saw it, I was like, this is great, but
I see that a lot.
we don't need to do this.
Yep.
So what they did was they created all these automations. I was like, that's great, but all we need to do is come in and have the master ticket, if it's a talking head with B-roll,
Okay.
with the specific subtasks that this goes through.
Yep, love it.
Right? So we hit show closed, and you can see here that subtask right here, turn the subtasks on. This is an example I gave this morning. What I want to see is that we're 23% done.
Yep.
The time estimate is going to be 6 hours of work.
Yep.
And the due date is February 21st.
Love it.
Which is next week, right?
Right.
So I'm like, oh, plenty of time.
Right.
And then I see at the end of the week that we're at 75%. Oh,
Right.
we're actually tracking ahead of schedule.
Love
right?
it. Yep.
I did was I wrote out this entire process. It goes through foundation, it goes through enhancement, then has an
These
editor.
are all just like the step-by-step that goes into this talking head.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Great.
Editor edits the foundation,
Yep.
and then gets enhancements. The editor then needs to go through the editing checklist and
Love
make
it.
sure there's perfect grammar, everything's enhanced,
Great.
make sure that the video is colored.
Great.
Then they upload the video to frame.io and insert the link into the ClickUp ticket, which is here.
Dude, this is beautiful. What are you doing? You flexing right now?
No, they said this is confusing, so that's what I want to break down with you.
Okay.
So in my head, this is the most simple way that I could see this,
Yeah.
and also you guys could see this.
Yes.
The editor's complaint was when they're assigned to all of these projects,
Yes.
they can't see what they own
Yes.
from a high level, and
Huge.
then I'm going through 20 tickets, and
Yep.
I don't know if it needs my attention or it doesn't need my attention.
Yep.
So the solution that we have, I spent an hour on this today, probably shouldn't spend an hour on this, because I was like, we need to do it this way. 3 out of 5 people have complained that this is confusing. I'm
Yep.
like, how is this confusing?
Okay.
If I'm an editor, I want to see it like this. I want to see, here's the finish line, right?
Yep.
Due dates, time estimates, everything like that.
So
that's what we agreed on. Then they, in my opinion, worked
Yep.
backwards, and they changed this and hadn't communicated. So today was the first day I saw it, and I was like, what the heck are we doing? This is not what we talked about. So they implemented foundations, enhancements, and editors.
Yep.
Then when you switch the status, there's 6 automations that are dependent on
Yep.
when the status is changed, then the time tracking starts.
Yeah, I
When
see.
the due date arrives, then you change the
see.
priority.
I see.
Now the editors can see what is in progress,
Yep.
what is ready to edit. So if we look at our subtasks here, they can see that this is blocked, this
Yep.
is ready to edit, this
Yep.
is in progress, this is an internal review,
Yep.
revisions,
Yep.
needs to be updated to the sheet, and ready to post. How long does in progress take? How long does internal review
And
take?
it's built to measure all of that.
My question is, how long does revisions take? Because
see.
if we go back to this method down here
Yep.
of having a very specific process here
Yep.
of the revisions taking 1 hour,
Sure.
then we can track that and actually make sure that we're on pace.
Great.
And if I'm a project manager, if I'm an ops manager, I would want to see it like this, but the editors are complaining that they can't tell. It says everything's in progress. How do
see.
I know what needs revisions?
I see. This is a really important part of Project Management Systems 101. I call them single source of truth because it should be the one place where your team is able to go and get the 80-20 of the information they need to do their job and get it fast. The complaint that your team is giving you is a real one, which is that for you, you're only looking at this one project. You want to see where we're at status-wise within this entire project.
Yes.
But your team just wants to look at their one task.
One task.
And you're kind of sending them on this Easter egg hunt where
Correct.
they're now trying to find their one relevant task throughout all these different projects that you guys have going at once. So the answer is we need to do both. The workaround here is that if you scroll up on the left, all the way up, scroll up. Yep. This home feature can be set to automatically populate every single task that is assigned to you. Right? And it will automatically populate every task assigned to whoever's ClickUp it is. I like your method. As long as your method has an assignee, a due date, and a priority, right? Or not even a priority, but if that's helpful to your team, then sure. Then it will automatically pull that task out of however many
Into
projects
here.
they've got tasks on, pull them into a single place, a single source of truth. So that every single day, they're not even in these. They're not clicking these, they're not looking at these, they're not
currently
clicking
in
around. They're currently in there, which is
Yeah.
stressful because there's God knows how many projects.
A lot of projects.
Versus they go to one place, which is their homepage.
Got it.
Their homepage pre-populates with all the things that they need, all their overdue tasks, all the tasks coming up next, right? They can click in, they can see exactly which project it's a part of. This is a system at this point, so they know exactly what they need to do. And they go in, they get it done, they check it as done.
So does the project manager set that up for them?
ClickUp automatically does this.
Got it.
Yeah. So all that needs to happen, all the project manager needs to set up is a system where assignees and due dates get automatically assigned out.
Got it.
So long as the task has an assignee and a due date, it'll pull into
So-
that person's homepage.
What you're saying is, because this was our solution,
Yeah.
what we're going to do is keep these statuses ready to edit, in progress, internal review, revisions, and then the tickets would still have that templated style that I showed you.
Sure.
The foundation would stay the exact same of all of the processes.
Yep.
Foundation,
Yep, I hear you.
revisions, editor checklist. So
Yep.
you would still have all of those drop downs. If that was assigned to Prajwal, because he's one of our editors.
Okay.
Once Prajwal is done with in progress,
Yep.
because the task will be in progress, it
Yep.
would then go to internal review
Love that.
and it would move there. But they're still in here and they still see everything.
Right.
They're clicking through all of these folders.
100%.
Yeah, it's not good.
Imagine that you had 100 outstanding pieces of content going at once. Is this shit gonna work? This would be an insane dashboard.
Well, this is pretty much what we've been doing. And
100%. And it's
a lot
already
of
a lot.
videos. Yeah.
It's already a lot, right?
Yeah.
And what we're talking about with Pod A is high scalability, which means high volume.
Yeah, correct.
So if this doesn't work for high volume, it's not going to work for Pod A, right?
Yeah.
The solution, the workaround to this is I like your SOP, your checklist, but that everyone, instead of working off of some master to-do list, has their individual to-do list
and it's their homepage.
and it's their homepage. So they could check a task is done, which could automatically move it to the next status, or they just move the status, right?
Yeah.
You could move the status from doing to done or like needs review, and then that'll automatic and like change the assignee to
So
the
it-
person who's going to review it, and then that'll automatically move it to their to-do list.
Honestly, like what we're doing of merging of internal review so the project
Yep.
managers can see, like we have 3 that are internally
Super
in
helpful
review.
from a project management
Yeah.
perspective. Confusing for the frontline team.
Yeah.
This doesn't solve the problem any more than your solution solved the problem.
On the call, I was running over and over. I was like,
You're like, but this isn't better.
this doesn't solve the problem, this doesn't solve the problem.
Right.
And then we're doing the same thing that we were initially doing.
Yes.
But the problem was that there was too many things to update. And
So
keep
instead,
up.
go back to your
Updated.
version of this.
Yeah, the template.
Yeah, I'll show you how this would look. If those statuses are really helpful for the project manager, if they're helpful for you to see,
The project manager were not happy that I said we should get rid of these.
I'm sure they weren't because it's helpful for them to see it. Instead, what I would recommend is going into this board view.
Yeah.
And this is called a Kanban board.
Yep.
And so she's going to be able to see and move things and see them move across this pipeline.
Yeah.
This is hers. This is her view. This is how she sees things. This is what allows her to stay on top of things.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense. But the team is not in here. The team is in their homepage. And by changing things in the homepage, by moving a status on a task in my homepage, it will automatically move it in this pipeline. So the project manager can still see everything. She
Yeah.
knows what's on track, she knows what's off track. That's important for her. You could still, if you like the list view and the way that you have it set it
Yeah,
up,
yeah, sure.
you could look at it as a list. You could see percentage complete. ClickUp could have you build a dashboard that says of all of our projects,
This is
these
right.
are on track, these are off track. You
Yeah.
could see that at a glance. But your individual frontline team member is working out of their homepage because it's pulling every task out of every project and every process, putting it in one place. And they can trust that by going to one place and checking everything off their to-do list, they've done what they needed to do today. They're not behind on due dates. They're not behind on tasks. Everything is done. They can believe that. They can trust that because the system is set up for that. Like that?
Yeah.
All right.
I've been in ClickUp for a while.
Like,
now,
you've already-
and it's
yeah,
not,
you're
like,
already-
super optimized. Like
Sure.
it works for now, but it's not scalable. This is our central location where all clients work
Okay.
and all of their project management gets done. This
Okay.
is how we move projects through.
And
to
you're
the
building
finish
a
line.
new sprint every 2 weeks, right?
New sprint every 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're tracking it within sprints so that way we can get the data. We're going to build dashboards on the back end
Love
to be
it.
able to see where we're at. By the way, if you're building a list or a sprint, highly recommend a sprint over a list because you get a lot of data that the lists don't provide and the
love it.
sprints do provide.
Love it.
So we found that to be super helpful. But you're not going to like this part, and I would love for you to walk me through how it should change.
Okay.
Currently, we have Slack, and within Slack, it matches ClickUp. We have
Yeah.
our client sections.
Okay.
And then they have an internal and an external channel.
Okay.
So the reason why we have Slack set up and we haven't moved all communication to ClickUp is specifically because it's habitual. This is like texting for our team.
Yes.
Whereas ClickUp is, we're not there yet. It's very
Yep.
bulky and there's a lot of notifications. They don't like it.
A lot of friction.
A lot of frictions. We've kept this set up. This isn't the issue. What I'm finding is having my team be able to report what is going on, from the project manager understanding what all of the editors are going to be working on, what their highest priority is.
Yes.
Then having my project manager report up to my ops manager and be able to say, these are my highest priorities. And then the ops manager come up to me.
Okay.
Currently, it's Caleb directly to the ops manager directly down to the project manager,
Yeah.
project manager directly down to the editors.
Yep.
And then when they are not on the time zones, meaning they're sleeping, Caleb comes in as ops manager, project manager.
Caleb gets his hands in the cookie jar,
I'm
messes everything up.
I mess everything up.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get things back on track.
Yep.
But what I'm doing is I'm not building trust through the team.
Correct.
And I understand that.
Yep.
But my habit
Yes.
is to just go and fix whatever's broken.
Yes.
So that way we can move forward.
Yes.
On to the next sprint.
Okay.
But I get into the cycle. It's the hamster wheel of doing that over and over.
100%.
We're tracking it in daily critical task lists,
Okay.
which is its own list per person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the homepage.
I know, I didn't think about this. I personally have tracked it in here because I can have different statuses in terms of like, okay, this is what I need to do today.
Okay.
This is what's up next. But this editor,
Right.
it's not getting...
He's not moving his tasks in here. He's tracking it separately.
He's probably not even tracking it.
Right. Jotting it down in a notebook.
In a notebook, if that, right?
Yep.
So
100%.
They obviously don't like this because this hasn't been updated
Everything's
since
overdue.
last year.
Yes.
So they're not using it. How do I create that
Bottom-up communication.
bottom-up communication without going
Top-down.
top-down?
Yep. So first things first, the big disclaimer with all of this is that I'm giving you the best practices. Take this YouTube video, give it to your ops manager.
Yeah.
None of this is your job. Systems redesign, communication redesign, 100% of that falls within operations. Let her do her best work with some best practices from me, right? So the first thing that I would say is that it's not that Slack is bad. You want both Slack and ClickUp. They're just different channels and they should be used differently. So ClickUp should be all things task management. Any task that gets assigned to anyone. Checking in on the status of a task. Where are we at with this task? Here is a Loom video attached to this task. 100% of that should go into ClickUp.
Which is not happening.
Which is not happening. What is Slack for? Slack is for real-time updates, clarification, and communication. Hey guys, I gotta move the meeting. I'm running 5 minutes late. One quick follow-up question about this task. I'm working on it right now and I had a question about it, right? So it's about real-time communication, but largely Slack should be quiet. You're having a hard time right now because your team is across all these different time zones. So if all the task management is happening in Slack, then I'm assigning a task. I'm waiting 8 hours for this person to wake up. They're then giving me an update on that task. And in that 8 hours, I wasn't that patient. I'm Caleb, so I just jumped in there. I figured out what was going on. Versus if all of that gets moved into ClickUp, part of the bottom-up communication is just automated now. Instead of just being like, hey, where are we at with this task? Where are we at with this task?
Yeah,
You can just go in there and you can see it, right?
Here you go.
Is it a message you saying, where are we at with this task?
Well, here's the project manager. Reminder for you to communicate to Ron not to film on his phone.
Right, random, whatever. And now 8 hours later, somebody's having to go into Slack, be like, hey, are there any messages for me relevant to this task I'm about to do?
Basically, I spend way too much time on Slack.
Right.
I'll find an actual real example, and this is probably one.
Well, and as you're looking for that, let's just break that down for a moment.
Yeah.
How many hours a day would you say you're in Slack?
Way too many.
Like, give me an estimate. Give me an
my
estimate.
computer will tell you, actually.
Okay.
Let's look, screen time.
Ooh, you're not gonna like this. Here we go.
Screen time, that's today, 1 hour.
So can we average it?
This week, I'm scared. 2 hours and 31 minutes.
Keeping in mind that you've been in Medellin at Gloria's Villa.
Okay, so let's go to last week. 4 hours and 48 minutes.
Cool. Total for the week? Yeah. Daily Slack usage, 41 minutes. Honestly, not the worst. Keep going. Let's get some average here. So almost 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Okay, let's keep going.
That's more like it.
Okay.
I'm like,
I was
40
like, you're doing
minutes
really
in
good,
Slack?
dude.
No, I'm in Slack all day.
Okay, so let's say 8 hours, right?
Yeah,
8 hours a week. Okay. Let's say that with the right systems,
Yeah.
we could cut that in half. Pull up a calculator for me. So 8 hours a week, we divide that by 2. Let's say that we're able to get you half of your time back with the right systems. Now multiply that by 52 weeks a year. Okay, 208 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours.
What could you do with 208 hours?
Be in Colombia.
We're talking about this pod A, pod B bullshit, but you have 208 hours.
In Slack.
Just leaking out of your business.
Yeah.
If you put 208 hours towards your lead acquisition problem, could you fix it? How much money would that bring into your business in the next 12 months?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so Slack is costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is where operations meets the money pipeline.
So it's time to delete it. No, I'm
That's
kidding.
right. It's time to put your ops manager's focus on this. If she can free up 200 hours, now multiply this by the number of people on your team. If she could free up 2,000 hours that you, by the way, are paying for, and reallocate that away from doing bullshit communication that doesn't even need to happen, and reallocate that towards editing videos, talking to clients, producing a high quality of work.
$100,000 on Slack communication.
You're spending $100,000 on Slack communication. And
That's
what are you
crazy.
getting bang for buck, right? Your ops manager's job is to save you at least $50,000 just in Slack communication, which is great, we love that. But then really what she's saving you is the 2,000 hours that your team can now drive growth to your business. How much more money can your business produce
So much.
with 2,000 extra hours, right?
Yeah.
So that's what, $100,000, $200,000? This is where operations becomes ROI positive. Okay, cool. So just wanted to help you understand why this is a high priority, because Slack right now is like, oh, it's annoying. It's frustrating. It could be better.
Yeah, it's
no, dude,
tedious.
it's none of those things. It's fucking expensive.
Yeah, it's $100,000.
It's $100,000. Cool. So let's save you $50,000. Here we go. So Slack, instead of being used for task management, all of that needs to get shifted into ClickUp. This system is not good, and your team hates it, which is why they don't use it.
They don't use it.
So the first thing is let's revamp ClickUp so that it's simple, it's usable, and people actually want to use it.
Yeah.
Once we've got that, we're going to train the team on how to use ClickUp so that everyone is in their home pages instead of in their notebooks, right? In their sticky notes on their bathroom mirrors.
That.
Right.
Yeah.
So now 100% of the tasks are flowing through ClickUp. And then you asked about that communication top down versus bottom up. That's what dashboards are for.
Got it.
So that you, instead of having to bug your team, instead of trying, it's like, hey, where are we at with this? Instead of getting worried that a client is on track or off track and now spending your precious time jumping into client accounts to figure out if we're okay or not. You could have one dashboard. It would show you all of your clients. It would show you who's on track and who's off track. It would show you each task that each project is currently on, right? Anytime that something got delayed, you could create an automation that flagged your ops manager, hey, we're behind track on this project, jump in there and figure out what's going on. So now she's not having to click around a bajillion projects. And Slack goes quiet. Slack is now just for real-time communication, and because ClickUp can happen asynchronistically, right? The time zone issue goes away because your team right now is having to wait 8 hours, 20 hours for the next person to wake up and then the next thing to get done. Yeah,
that's what's happening.
Right,
that's
and then you're
why
like, you up?
I feel like there's literally, I'm like on WhatsApp, hey, you up?
So instead of booty calling your team, we could just manage tasks in ClickUp. You would know where everything is at, and if something is urgent and behind, you would also know that. You could jump in, you could fix it, you could get it back on track. But you're not bothering anybody, and no one's taking up their time to tell Caleb, hey Caleb, here's where I'm at. Does that make sense?
That makes tons of sense.
Okay.
And I think that for me, in my head, I'm like, we are in ClickUp, but we're not optimized in ClickUp.
Right. You're not in ClickUp because nobody's actually using it. Guys, the most perfect system in the world means fuck all if no one's using it. Right? Because the whole point of this is creating efficiency. If your team is not using it, where's the efficiency?
So do you think that the ops manager doesn't know what she's doing, right? In my head, that I know that's an emotional reaction.
100%.
That's not a data-driven.
100%.
Like when I look at this and we're talking about it, I'm like, I don't know how to have this set up because this is how I've set it up. This is transitioning from Notion to ClickUp and then just building the plane as we go. And being like, this is how we've done it. I've tried to do dashboards, but even the homepage, I don't even use the homepage. Guess what? It's monotonous for me.
It's monotonous for
sometimes to even come in here and be like, track. Oh yeah, right here. Oh, go down. Oh, 3 clicks. Okay, now. Okay, this is where I'm at. Now let me update all this, right?
So here's where I'm going to give some grace to your ops manager. There are no resources out there. For ops managers, here's what ClickUp should look like, here's how to do your job. It took me 3 years and literally seeing the insides of hundreds of businesses to now be able to look at a ClickUp and be like, oh, fix this and here you go, right? The reality is that it's not that your ops manager is bad at their job, it's that your ops manager is probably untrained and has no templates or best practices to work from. That's not on her, right? Yeah. She's bringing her intuition to the table about how to solve this problem, but she hasn't done it enough times to know what's gonna work or not.
Yeah.
And so if you as the CEO are not the operator, which we've established, right? You're not an ops expert. You're trying to help her, you're trying to train her, right? But you also don't know what this should look like.
Yeah,
and so if that's your situation, this is why I built my coaching program. It's because the CEOs don't know how to train them. The operators don't know what they're doing because they have no training. And your business is losing time and money as a result.
Yeah.
So this is the shameless plug, which is that if your ops manager is the right culture fit, she's hardworking, she wants to grow, she wants to level up and get better. I've taken what took me, again, 3 to 4 years, 500 plus businesses, and I've shrunk it into a 9-month coaching boot camp so that she can get this download in a single week. She can have it implemented in your business next week. And now we're just iterating and making it better from there.
Love that.
Cool.
Love that.
That'll be Visa, Amex, what do you?
Here you go, cash.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
Because you're trying to help her, she's trying to help herself, she's doing her best.
Yeah.
But no one has given her the template, and so she's coming up with what she thinks makes sense, and it's not a bad attempt.
Yeah.
But it's not as efficient as it could be.
Yeah. No, for sure. Makes
Cool.
so much sense. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to just like hear you break it down because it's like homepage. I mean, this is what it's designed for.
But you have to use the tool in a particular way for this to work.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
The big challenge that your ops manager is going to run into is getting the team on board. Because even if it's the most perfect system in the world, they're used to doing things a particular way. They like the sticky note on the bathroom mirror system, right? That's what they're used to. And so the final piece and skill set in all of this is, does she know how to get behavioral buy-in? Does she know how to persuade and influence and change team habits and behavior? Because if not, she's going to have a really bad time.
Yeah.
So I would make sure that she has access to resources around that as well. Cool.
Love it.
Does that give you 1, 2, maybe 3 actionable things
100%.
that you can take back to your business to make it more efficient?
It makes so much sense. I think seeing it broken down like this and just like me coming in, I'm like, okay, this is the issue, self-diagnosing it. It's like, that's the surface level issue.
Correct.
And I think that we try to solve that surface level issue, and that's also why we go to masterminds. That's why we read books. That's why we watch YouTube videos, because we're looking for this like surface level answer.
Yes.
But at the root of it, it's like there's so much more that needs to be implemented below. I had the mural board example.
Right.
This to me is straightforward.
It's done.
Read
I
through
did
this
it.
and implement it, right?
100%.
But at the end of the day, we also have to take into account that not everyone is a visual learner.
Sure.
Not everyone is going to be able to just see a ClickUp list and then be able to implement it. They need this right here, the mural board paired with what we went over earlier on the template. So that way they have like those checks and balances to move the needle forward.
I love that you break it down into root cause, right? To just recap, even in the course of this conversation, what happened. You came in saying, Jonna, I have a team performance and leadership issue.
Yeah, I said I have not the right team.
I have not the right team. If you were to solve the surface level issue, what that would have looked like is you firing your whole team, hiring a bunch of people,
and having the same
guess
issues.
What? They wouldn't have changed the problem, right? Because it's not the actual problem in your business. And so this is also where expertise and like our consulting services are important, because at the surface, it's a team issue. If you were to try and solve the team issue, you would cost a ton of time and money firing your team and replacing them. Instead, we can diagnose that it's a systems issue. We can give 2 to 3 actionable tweaks to the system. And now maybe you have to let go of 10% of your team because they're the team that can't get on board
adapt.
or doesn't want to or whatever.
For sure.
But those are the people that actually should be managed out of the system versus everyone else has now been set up for success. Those are the people that you're going to see consistently start to level up.
Got it.
Love it.
Makes so much sense.
Okay, cool. Got what you need? Perfect.
All right. Yeah, I feel like that's really good.
Dude, that was fucking fun.
That was fun.
I would do that all day.